Today I want to talk about what's called the blue zones. The blue zones are terms for regions around the world where people tend to live longer lives. A lot of people in these regions live to 90 to 100 years of age and older. Uh, they a lot of their longevity is attributed to the way they eat. And there's been a couple of books. Dan Buettner, I believe, was the guy who led the charge on the blue zone diet situation. He's written a number of books. Basically, the idea is that most of these people, 95% of what they consume is plant food. They're basically vegans or vegetarians, and that right away will not go over well with a lot of bodybuilders and athletes. But we're not talking here about large muscles. We're talking about longevity. Now, right now, there's 5 known blue zones in the world. They are located in Okinawa, Japan, Ikarian, Greece, Sardinia, Italy, Nicoya, Costa Rica, and Loma Linda, California. Now, aging is largely controlled. There's debate back and forth. A lot of studies say that how long you live or longevity is only 30% genetic. However, more recent research shows that to live to over 100, now we're talking over 100, you have to have basically certain genetic mutations that include extremely highly adaptable DNA repair. In other words, people that live over 100 have an exceptional ability to repair DNA, and this allows them to go on and on and on. Unfortunately, that's basically a kind of a genetic mutation that most people don't have. So what it boils down to is you can follow all the blue zone advice you want in the world, but if you don't have the genes that favor longevity, the odds of making it to over 100 are almost zero. And that's the plain fact, no matter what you read. There's a lot of books coming out, nonsense about do this, do that, take this supplement, you'll live to 150 or whatever. It's all BS. Anyway, things that influence longevity include diet, lifestyle, exercise, how often you exercise, how much stress you're under, and social environment. Supposedly, if you are lonely, if you keep to yourself, have no friends as you get older, that is basically a negative aspect of longevity. It cuts your life short. I think the reason for that is a lot of lonely people are under a lot of mental stress because humans are social animals. They have to kind of be around each other. I also have my doubts about that. I think it depends on the individual. Some people are so comfortable with themselves that they have no problem being around a lot of people, and that includes myself. I'm not antisocial, but I don't care to have a million people around me. I just don't give a crap. I'd rather have a couple of good people around me than thousands of phonies and glad-handers, but that's just me. Anyway, the blue zones are scattered all over the world, and again, the diet centers on eating lots of fresh vegetables, nuts, whole grains, and legumes. Most of the foods they eat are devoid of pesticides. They're all naturally grown. So let's take a closer look at some of these blue zone countries and what they eat. Okinawa. Okinawa is a famous island. During World War II, there was some big battles fought on the island of Okinawa. It's a region kind of Japanese. They're islands that are found just south of Japan. They're called Ryukyu Islands, I think it is, and they're just in the south of Japan. The Okinawans are among the world's longest living people. Their diet is low in calories, but it's dense in nutrients. The Okinawans have a saying about something about eating something like, I think it's 80% of what's the food on the plate and leaving 30% over. So they're kind of on a calorie restricted diet without trying to be. In other words, they don't consciously try and follow a calorie restricted diet, but that's what it turns out to be, because again, most of the food they eat is vegetables. They eat this kind of a purple, I believe it's a purple corn or something, or type of sweet potato that's purple, that supposedly is extremely healthy. They eat a lot of that stuff. They eat leafy greens, yellow root vegetables, soy, low glycemic grains. In other words, these are grains that don't spike your blood sugar levels. The diet is naturally high in nutrients like vitamins and minerals, has a lot of antioxidants. uh, Here's an example of what they eat. Okinawan sweet potato that I just described, bitter melon, which helps control blood glucose, bamboo shoots, cabbage, white radish, Chinese okra, pumpkin, carrots, burdock. They like soy and soy products such as tofu, miso. They like grains such as millet, noodles, and rice. They eat lean quarts. They do eat some meat, lean cuts of pork, chicken, and occasionally goat. They do eat fish, kelp, other seaweed. For condiments, they use turmeric, which itself imparts some longevity benefits, and various herbs and spices. And they don't eat much salt. They don't drink milk. They don't eat yogurt, cheese, or butter. They don't eat a lot of beef. They don't eat processed meats. Okay, let's move on. That's also I would add about the Okinawans. Another reason why they tend to live long is they tend to be very small people. I believe, I don't know offhand exactly, but if I remember correctly, the average height of the Okinawan male is about 5'2", and the women are like 4'8" to 4'10". They're very tiny people, and there is some relationship between short stature and longevity in the sense that shorter people tend to live longer. All things being equal, shorter people tend to live longer than very tall people. That's why you don't see like 7-foot basketball players living to over 100. I think a lot of it has to do with insulin-like growth factor 1. Shorter people don't secrete as much, and taller people do. Insulin-like factor, IGF-1 is very good when you're younger, but when you get older, it tends to cause some negative effects like promotion of cancer and other effects. Let's move on to the island of Sardinia, which is it's kind of just off the west of the Italian peninsula, off Italy, and it's a lot of men on the island of Sardinia live to over 100. The famous bodybuilder who recently passed away a couple of years ago, Franco Colombo, was a native of Sardinia. Those of you who saw the film Pumping Iron might remember the scene where Franco is shown lifting a small car. I think he's lifting it out of a parking space or putting in a parking space. I don't remember, but one of the people observing him, this old man with a cap, that was Franco's father. And at the time of the filming, I think he was in his mid-90s. So, Franco had the genetics to probably live to, he could have been one of the longest living bodybuilders, but I don't know this to be a fact, but I've heard rumors that, I do know for a fact that Franco liked to smoke a lot of cigars like his buddy Arnold, and he also liked to drink a lot of wine. He had his own winery. Unfortunately, I think these things short-circuited his genetic proclivity to longevity, but that's only a supposition on my part. All I know is that Franco apparently died of a heart attack. The Sardinian diet is a variation of what's called the Mediterranean diet. And the Mediterranean diet is one of the healthiest diets you can eat. It's the only diet known that actually is associated with longevity other than calorie restriction itself. The Mediterranean diet is characterized by a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, minimally processed whole grains and legumes, nuts and olive oils are main sources, moderate fish consumption and low intakes of dairy, alcohol, and red meat. Now, the Sardinian variation of the Mediterranean favors higher intakes of olive oil. Olive oil is fantastic stuff. There was one study that showed that people in Sardinia, I believe it was, who consume a lot of extra virgin olive oil, showed a 9 times decreased risk of mortality. It was traced to the olive oil they drink. The Sardinians also eat more fish. They drink milk and dairy products, and they have alcohol, like red wine, which is in small amounts, it's actually good for you. The foods they eat, typically vegetables, tomatoes, potatoes, sweet potatoes, onions, cabbage. Fruits, they like orange, apples, bananas, dates, peaches. They like fava beans. Every time I hear the word fava beans, I think of that movie, Silence of the Lambs. Anyway, lentils and chickpeas. They like barley and wheat. Goats and sheep milk. They like sea bass, anchovies, octopus, mussels, clams, lobster, blah blah blah. They occasionally eat some beef, lamb, and pork. They don't eat a lot of processed. They don't eat processed or cured meats. They avoid sugar-sweetened vegetables, refined grains, and oils. So let's move on to the next blue zone, which is Ikarian. It's a small Greek island located in the Aegean Sea. The Ikarian diet is also a variation of the Mediterranean diet with a higher intake of coffee, potatoes, and full-fat dairy products. But it still emphasizes fruits, vegetables, olive oil, cereals, and legumes while keeping a lower consumption of meat products and a moderate intake of wine. Again, the Mediterranean diet always includes some red wine. Red wine has a lot of nutrients in it, and again, if you keep it to like 2 glasses a day, you're fine. You go over that, it starts to reverse. It's called hormesis. A little bit of something is good, too much, bad. Again, the Ikarian diet, tomatoes, carrots, potatoes, broccoli, spinach, apricot, pomegranate, berries. Pomegranate is especially healthy. It has a content of what they call ellagic acid, which in the intestinal bacteria turn that into a substance called urolithin A, I believe it's called, which has remarkable health properties, which I can't get into in this video, but it's very, very life extending. Let me put it that way. They like to the Ikarians like to eat whole grain cereals and bread. They like goat's milk, yogurt, cheese. They like to eat sardines, salmon, trout, herring. They like boiled Greek coffee and red wine. They eat a little bit of beef, chicken, goat, and pork meats. They don't eat cured or processed meat, and they avoid all processed foods like soda, candy, and snack bars. Now we move on to Nicoya. Nicoya is a province of Costa Rica. It has a 20% lower mortality rate than the rest of the country, and that qualifies it as a blue zone area. The Nicoya diet differs from the diets I've already talked about because has a much higher animal-based protein content and a lower intake of healthy fats compared to the others. But it does include a large amount of fiber and low glycemic index foods, which means a lower intake of processed and refined foods. It's abundant in plain traditional foods such as rice, beans, corn, chicken, and eggs. People also consume a little bit more expensive foods like aged cheese, extra virgin olive oil, but not as often as the other diets or the other countries. Again, same thing. They eat tropical fruits, papaya, banana, mango, black beans, lentils, rice, corn, whole grain bread, soft and hard cheeses, chicken and eggs. They occasionally eat beef and pork. They avoid processed meats. They don't drink cow's milk, and they avoid refined grains and frozen foods. Then we have the Seventh-day Adventist diet. This is the Seventh-day Adventist diet. These are people that live in a community located in Loma Linda, California. They follow a mostly vegan diet derived from the Bible. It's like religious based. They don't smoke. They don't drink. They don't even drink coffee, as far as I know. But again, it's largely plant based. And a couple of studies have examined the Seventh-day Adventist diet. They show that this type of diet reduces the risk of chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And this is probably one of the keys to the longevity of these people who follow this particular religion. They like to eat vegetables, tomatoes, broccoli, carrots, onions. They like apples, pears, bananas, beans, and lentils, whole grain, oats, quinoa, corn, rice, amaranth. They of course eat some olive oil and nuts, such as cashews. They eat some meat. They like salmon, chicken, eggs, and beef. They don't eat pork or shellfish. They don't eat full-fat milk products. They don't drink any alcohol. Like I said, no coffee. They don't eat hot condiments or spices, and they avoid sweets. So that's about it for the blue zone diets. Again, there's a lot of things involved in longevity, especially when you're talking about living to 100 or over. I talk a lot about this in my Applied Metabolics newsletter, where I discuss anti-aging research in the sense that what the goal of these articles, I'm not saying that you could live forever, but what I'm saying is the information that I impart in these articles will allow anyone, regardless of genetics, to live as healthy as you can for as long as you can. there's certain inborn time bombs we all have that maybe might catch up with us. But the good thing is with the new science of epigenetics, which means that we could basically control a lot of the genes in our body through environmental effects such as diet, exercise, and nutrition, you might be able to overrule the bad genetics that you're born with. An example of this is apolipoprotein E4, which if you have 2 copies of that, you have a much greater chance of getting Alzheimer's disease. But it turns out that you don't, having the 2 copies of the gene for this particular protein, it's not a sure thing. It doesn't mean you have no chance and that you will eventually get Alzheimer's. You have the power to eat a certain way, exercise, and engage in certain health habits, which can actually control those genes so they don't express themselves and produce Alzheimer's disease. That's just one example. But anyway, that's about it. So now you know what the blue zones are. And again, to sum it up, mostly vegan eating, vegetarian eating, 95% plant-based. The diets slightly vary in the amount of meat they eat. Some of them drink a little bit more wine. Some of them consume a little bit more olive oil. But they're all basically themes on the Mediterranean diet, which again I described in this video earlier, largely fruits and vegetables, a little bit of fish and that type of thing. So this basically is the prescription for a longer and healthier life. These diets, as I point out in my recent article in my Applied Metabolic newsletter, I wrote a huge article on the Paleolithic diet, and I pointed out in that article that any of these types of diets can be adjusted for bodybuilding purposes, meaning that most of them are kind of a little bit low on the when it comes to protein. And of course, anybody involved in bodybuilding has to consume greater than normal amounts of protein, but it's easily adjusted. All you have to do is increase lean protein sources such as fish, especially fatty fish, rich in omega-3, such as halibut, mackerel, salmon. And, if you want to eat eggs, you can, although most of the diets, they don't eat a lot of eggs. But you can do that. You still have to avoid milk products. But it's not really difficult to eat in the styles that I described and still get sufficient enough protein to develop muscle. In fact, they had a recent study published where they compared vegan diets to standard animal protein diets, and they found that they both led to the same amount of muscle gains as long as the protein content was the same. The main difference with vegan diets is that you have to eat a little bit more food to get the same amount of protein, because animal protein foods are much more concentrated in essential amino acids compared to plant foods. But you have options. For example, you could use the plant-based protein powders they have now, which they didn't have years ago, such as pea protein, hemp protein, rice protein. All of these things, have a good amount of amino acids, including essential amino acids. You would just take 2 scoops of those the vegetable proteins are equal to about 1 scoop of whey protein, and you're getting the same basic amount of amino acids. So that's about it for this subject. If you want more information on nutrition, exercise science, anti-aging research you can use today, fat loss techniques that really work, ergogenic aids, hormonal therapy, supplement science, which supplements work, which ones don't. I mean, there's a lot of nonsense on the internet about supplements, and I'm going to tell you the truth about it because I'm not associated with any food supplement company. Unlike a lot of these academic PhDs and MDs who are on the payrolls of supplement companies and don't give you the whole story, I will give you the whole story. I have no axe to grind. I also cover women's health and fitness and many other topics in Applied Metabolics. In fact, I cover more topics than any other digital publication on the internet. It's 40 to 50 pages every month. It's almost like reading a monthly ebook, but you will learn a lot. In fact, if you read my Applied Metabolics newsletter, after about 6 months, you yourself will be an expert on nutrition and exercise, and you'll know you can advise other people yourself, actually. It's an excellent source for trainers who work with clients and anyone who wants to know the truth and who wants in-depth information. I mean really in-depth information. I throw in the whole kitchen sink on any topic I write about. So, some of these articles I actually read is up to like 100 or more research papers just to get the full picture. And I'm very objective. I don't inject my own opinions unless it's called for in the articles. You're getting just evidence-based fact. So subscribe today. It's at www.appliedmetabolics.com. When you subscribe, I'll send you an invitation to join my private Applied Metabolics Facebook page, where each day I post new information on exercise, nutrition, and medicine. I also have an email portal on my Applied Metabolics webpage where current subscribers only. I don't answer unsolicited questions. Current subscribers can send me short questions, which I'll answer as a service and appreciation of the fact that they're subscribers. Again, no, I will not answer unsolicited questions that are not from current subscribers. You're welcome to leave comments under these videos, especially if you want to give me a suggestion for a future video topic. However, I also will not answer questions under the videos. Anyone else is welcome to do that. I don't have the time. So that's about it. If you want to have the best friend you'll ever have, go to your local shelter, adopt a dog, and thanks for listening.